The following podcast is part of the MindBodySpirit.fm podcast network.
Hi, I'm Lindsay, host of the Live Like Eden podcast. What do you do when your whole life flips upside down? Are you questioning everything, lost in chaos, or yearning for life's deeper meaning? I've been there, deep in the thick of it, unraveling my own awakening mess for over 20 years. Now I'm here to help you through yours. I share no-nonsense weekly wake-ups, cutting through the ego's illusions to wake you up to your own spiritual wisdom. No mountaintop bliss needed here, just practical tools, insights, and real-life experience to save you time. Plus, a much-needed laugh when we're all losing it. Let's dive into this fresh new episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Let's get right into today's show. We're going to get into practical self-care for the overwhelmed spiritual seekers out there. All of you out there that are really, truly seeking a connection to the spiritual realm or the spiritual self of who you truly are. And then you're living in the world, right? Completely overwhelmed with the day-to-day that we have to do, right? I mean, as I'm speaking right now, I just want you to think about, are you currently overwhelmed? I don't know about any of you, but my hand goes way up in the air. It was overwhelmed from the holidays that I thought would dissipate like after the new year, and it just doesn't. It's just like never ending. There's always stuff to do, things to take care of, always. And I laugh at this because I think in the side of our mind somewhere, we think that life will just suddenly stop. And it just doesn't. I kind of laugh at it a little bit, like the ego designs it this way. You know, it loves to keep us distracted and feeling overwhelmed. And I'm sure many of you listening, you can think of the overwhelm that you might feel with your job or not working or your family life, your relationships, all the little details and things to do in your house, right? Or wherever you're living, there's always like an endless list of projects to do, right? Especially if you're living in a place that's older, something's breaking, something is always needing to be fixed, right? This is why I say it just never ends. You know, I found out this year we need a new roof. It's like, oh, here we go. We got to get a new roof, put the new roof on. And that is amazing how expensive all this stuff is now, you know. So the overwhelm is real. And for those of you that maybe even are in overwhelm of feeling like nothing's happening, right? You don't have to have anything happening to feel overwhelmed. For instance, those of you that are going through any difficult time, maybe you're stuck, maybe you're in the middle of a real dark night of the soul or something like that, where you're just feeling as if your identity is crumbling, vanishing even. There's a feeling of overwhelm in that. You want answers, you want it to go away, and it's overwhelming. So I want to get into some practical self-care things that we can do in our lives that I know for many of you, if you have families or you have kids or you have a lot to do at work and other people are always coming before you, it's very easy to put yourself in the back of the line, right? I have done that over the years. You know, I have 4 children, and it's like everything that I do or have done for many, many years is I get up in the morning and the first thing I'm thinking about is everybody here? Who's doing what? What do I need to do? How do I need to get them there? Blah, 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 right? You guys know the drill if you have families. Now, even if you don't have a family or you're on your own, you still have things that you do, right? You develop your own routine for yourself. And if anybody who's working, you know, work is always first, right? It's always work, 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 all the projects you have to do. And then you're balancing the home life. So what happens? Complete and utter overwhelm. And the last thing that many of us want to do is take care of ourselves sometimes. It's like, I don't even want to think about that. I just want to sit here for the 5 minutes that I have in peace, right? So the first half of this show, I want to just go over some practical things you can do for the body, for your mind, to get yourself in sort of a rhythm of taking care of yourself. And then the second part of the show, as I always love to do, is we're going to bridge the gap into the spiritual and talk about the spiritual self-care and how you can access and implement the connection to spirit as you're living your day-to-day chaos, right? Because it never ends. You know, I really should title the episode, It Never Ends, because it doesn't. And once you understand and accept that, then you have to implement ways. Okay, so how do I manage to take care of myself and still access this real sacred space within that can guide me through my day? If you are a spiritual seeker, isn't this what we're looking for? We're looking for a connection to peace and love deep within us that resides permanently. Like we want to feel this as much as we possibly can. But we also have this identity problem, right? We have an ego mind that loves to get in the way and shower us with distraction and chaos and to-do lists and even spiritual to-do lists. You know, people think they have to do to become spiritual. And it creates a real sense of overwhelming energy and even heaviness in our own energy field. Right? It feels like the vibration starts to just feel really heavy. You know? I'm speaking from my own experience, but what does it feel like to you when you get really overwhelmed? It's like your mind is going in 15 different directions, right? And I don't know about any of you, but sometimes I will literally start a project and I have this whole mission over here. And then as I'm doing that, something else pops up and I start doing that too. So now I'm doing two things and then a third and a fourth. And all of a sudden you find yourself juggling many different tasks and none of them are completed. Right? Let's start off with some practical things that you can do to take care of yourself. And it seems like this is so obvious, but as we live our lives, it really does seem impossible sometimes to even do anything for yourself. Now, if you're one of those people that always does that and is able to constantly put yourself first, that's awesome. Like, I want to learn from you. I do have glimpses of this before I had kids. That's all I knew. So everything in my life was about, what was I doing next? I'm sort of beginning to transition back to that as my kids are grown up. So it's interesting to do it in a different way this time, though, because most of us, when we're younger, let's face it, we're still trying to figure out the world. We're still trying to figure out how to manage it, how to live in it, how to succeed in it, how to make enough money, all the things. We aren't really seeking this deeper meaning and purpose and understanding of ourselves on a spiritual level. Like, maybe it's there that you are thinking about it like on the surface, but actually finding it and doing it, it's pretty rare for really young people to be on that path right away. It's typically something that happens like later in life when all of a sudden you realize like nothing ever changes here. And now I'm ready to seek something more meaningful in my life. On a practical level, one of the things to think about is, what do you like to do to take care of yourself? Like, what is the meaning of self-care to you? Because it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to go to the spa, right? Because that's expensive. I can't even believe how much getting a massage or facials or, things that are really relaxing and wonderful, they are pricey. And for some of us, like living on a budget, it's like, I'll do that maybe in the next couple of months, but I can't budget that every week. If you can, awesome. But that's a form of self-care, right? Taking time to relax is all you need. You don't necessarily have to make an appointment to go to your relaxation, but you can if it's available to you. Why not? I recently was gifted a gua sha facial. I don't know if any of you have done this. It's absolutely the most relaxing thing I've ever done in terms of body treatment. And I'm still trying to figure out what was it that was so relaxing in terms of it really put me into deep meditative trance where I felt the body melt onto the table and it was not even present. I mean, it was the deepest relaxing feeling I've had in a long time for the body in a treatment like that. And it was basically like a lymphatic drainage. They take this jade stone and kind of work the lymphatic fluid, moving it out of the face. And I honestly have not looked into this. I don't know anything about it other than I just had it done. But it put me into this. I was awake. It wasn't like I went to sleep. I was talking to the lady that was giving me the treatment, but it was a really deep relaxation for the body. And for any of you that do meditation, transcendental meditation, where you really do feel disconnected from the body completely, this was so similar to that. So highly recommend it if anybody has a little time and wants that experience. It was really, really amazing. But you can get this same type of experience from sitting in absolute silence. You know, you do not have to go get the treatment. But sitting in silence is something that I don't think gets a lot of attention like meditation does. I'm talking about just being. So, like, let's say, for instance, if you are really overwhelmed in the middle of your day, something really practical that you can do is take literally 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, disconnect from everything you are doing. You know, you may not be able to at work, but if you can, you could still pull awareness in as you are working, where you completely empty yourself as you're doing your task, whatever it is that you have to do, and you're turning the mind off. And that's what I'm getting at here is first learning a form of self-care that is deliberately clearing your field, if that makes sense. You're kind of clearing out all of the energetic clutter from your field, which extends, you know, a couple feet above you and around you, right, in all directions. You have a very large energy field. People used to say to me years ago when I got very overwhelmed energetically to clear my field. And I'm thinking, well, how do you do that? What does that even mean? Right? And to me now, it's more of just getting into a space in me, not like a physical space, but you're creating this space within you that you instantly shut off everything around you. You just shut it off. Boom. Go right into that. And you take a few deep breaths and you only focus on your calmness. I want you to think of it as the calm, still center of your being. So you just move your attention to the calm center. Think of the eye of the hurricane, right? It's calm. Everything around it is going wacko. Winds are out of control. That's life, right? You're going through the world and the hurricane is blowing around you constantly. And maybe you're involved in it, right? Maybe you're taking the bait and you are the hurricane. And you notice when you do it, you pull into the still center as you're doing your life. So you take that 5 minutes, you pull in. This is self-care. Okay. It doesn't have to be the massage or the facial, even though those are wonderful. It is simply turning off everything around you for just a couple minutes even, and go to the still center. Find that place within you that shuts off. It's like all of a sudden, everything around you is just still. Even though it's moving, it's like a still point. You will feel this very obviously as you continue to practice it. At first, you might go, I don't know what you're talking about, and I feel absolutely nothing. That's okay. Keep doing it. Keep working to shut off the world around you. The best times, to be honest, to practice is in the middle of the chaos. That's when you learn how to do it. You can practice meditation at home. I mentioned on one of my latest episodes that I get up in the morning and before I even leave the bed, I start a visual of connection to spirit, right? So whatever it is for you and how you can build this is important. The key is learning this as life is happening. That's how you become connected, is you do it as life is happening. That's really the only way, right? Is you actually have to do it. So think of that as self-care. That's a practical step to go into the center of your being in the middle of overwhelm. Now, I'd love to say that the overwhelm will just suddenly go away. It probably won't. But at least you have a skill set that says, I can right now go inside of myself for just a moment and find the quiet. Even in the midst of loud noises, there's still this inner silence that will happen where the world will shut off around you. And it's an amazing feeling. And you can access it anytime. This is what's so amazing. It doesn't cost you anything, right? It just costs you 5 minutes of your time. And then once you're able to go there and you figure out the way that works best for you, you can do it all the time. So as you're going through difficult times, anxious times, just periods of chaos in your life or just too much is going on, get in that still center for a minute. Access it because that place is timeless. There's no time there. So sometimes if you just take 5 minutes on the clock, but you access it and feel this depth, it actually seems like a lot of time went by, even though it didn't in our reality. So think about that. You got physical self-care, right? You can go get the treatments. You can do all of that to calm the body. But learning how to go within right away is so important. So I always think of that as like the first thing to even think about. Because you could go through a bunch of self-care routines like, yep, today I'm going to get up and I have this whole facial routine. I got all this stuff for my body. I'm going to do some skin brushing. I'm going to sit in a hot sauna. All those things that you hear out there, you can do. But if you're not doing them when you're connected to this deeper essence, those tasks can then become overwhelming too, right? It's like, oh, I have to do X, Y, and Z so that I can feel relaxed. And I'm trying to flip it the other direction and say, well, the first thing to do is really get into the calm and then do the things that you want to do for your own physical and mental self-care. I hope that makes sense. It's easy and simple. But it isn't always easy to feel right away if it's something that's new to you. So just because you try it and you don't feel anything doesn't mean that it's not there. It's kind of like saying just because we don't see energy, that it doesn't mean it's not there for us to feel. We don't see Wi-Fi frequencies, radio frequencies in our visual field, but they are there. So it's the same kind of thing. Just because you don't feel it right away doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And then as you find this calm center and you learn to bridge it into your day-to-day routine, it's like riding a bike. Eventually, you'll just do it naturally when you're in periods of overwhelm. You'll feel the pull there because now it's familiar. When it's not familiar, you don't go there, right? You don't have any idea what you're going toward. So once you start feeling this timeless essence within you, then you keep building on that. You just keep pulling in there and then you navigate the world as it happens. Now, some other things to think about if you're somebody who is used to putting everybody else before you, like their needs before your needs, flip that upside down for a short period of time and see what happens. Like maybe get up a little earlier and do something for yourself, whatever it is, whether it's exercise, whether it's reading a book, whether it's just getting up a little earlier to do some hobby that you love to do, a passion that you have. Maybe you're an artist and you never have time to paint or you don't have any time to write. Get up a little earlier and schedule the time for you. And when you put yourself first, you start feeling better and you're not so grumpy around other people that need you to help them. Like, for instance, if you don't do the things that are going to make you feel better in your body, right, or your mind, and then you start helping other people, do you ever hear that voice that goes, oh gosh, I have to help this person and I couldn't get my exercise in and now I'm so pissed off and now I don't want to be around them. You start projecting your disgruntled emotion onto the people you're around, and it's automatic. Like the ego mind loves to do that, loves to blame somebody else for my own problem, right? So watch if you do that in your life, put yourself first. Schedule some time. And if you are not a morning person, do it at night. Do it later at night or on the weekend. Or, there's always some time that you could figure out how to give yourself what you need. But you have to be willing and you have to say, yeah, I can put myself first. I need to create that boundary with myself and the people that I'm around. And you can even inform them. Hey, everybody, I just want to let you know, I'm going to be doing this routine in the morning. So, mom is off limits until this time, or, let them know, inform people that maybe do need you, let them know what you're doing so they can support you in it too. The other thing that this time of year is a little difficult, especially for those of you that are living in a colder climate, getting fresh air and sunshine is so important. I'm one of those people, and maybe you are too, that I need sunshine in my life, or I start going a little crazy inside. I start feeling this like, oh, I need sun. And it always happens probably like right now into February because I live in Colorado and it's hard to get out in the sun. Although this year, a little bit strange, it's been in the 60s like all December, which never happens. So I was loving that. And of course, it snowed the other day, and I know we'll get more snow, but yeah, it's just kind of strange how warm it was this year, which is not typical. But hey, I'll take it. I'm not complaining. I'm a sun person. So that's nice. But for those of you that are in the middle of freezing cold or you get lots of snow, it's hard, right, to get out and get in the sun. Now, I know there's like these sun lamps and lights you can buy. I know there's a big movement into this. To be honest, I have done zero research into that because I'm really all about natural sunlight. But I know some people that they do use them. They say they feel better. I don't know. You can look into that, especially if you're in a place that really doesn't have a lot of sun. I just question the use of artificial light at all as a replacement for sunlight. I just don't think it could ever be exactly like what the energy that the sun is actually giving us. But could it be a temporary solution? Probably. And then the other thing is movement. However you want to move yourself, and the body really does benefit from moving in any capacity. You don't have to hit the gym. You don't have to run a marathon. If you'd love to do those things, great, go do them. But you don't have to. You can do really simple stretching. You can walk. You can even just move throughout your day, like literally doing work around your house and gardening outside when you can, or cleaning. Oh my God, how many of you, when you're cleaning, I feel like, yeah, I'm moving all over the place. I'm hot. I listen to something and, there's movement happening. So when I say movement, it doesn't necessarily mean get on an exercise machine for 20 minutes and get your heart rate up. That's not what I'm talking about. You could. I mean, that's certainly an option. And I do need to sweat. I'm one of these people that, I got to sweat just for like 20 to 30 minutes. I don't need to be on there for hours, but I like to move to get sweating to happen. Or you could sit in a sauna. You could sit in a hot bath. That all helps release the garbage and toxicity out of the body through sweating. So think about that. Movement is really important. I do think it helps not only with the body, but it also helps your mental state. How many of you notice that you mentally relax after you move your body? Yeah, it's kind of a euphoria, especially those of you that are like really into the endorphin rush, right? You feel better in your state of mind. But if you access the center point, like I was talking about, and you learn how to do that, you access that without the need for such rigorous movement. So all this stuff is, pretty common sense, right? It's not rocket science. I don't think life is so complicated. I think that the things that we need to do to take care of ourselves can be very, very easy and simple. You don't have to kill yourself to feel good. And that's the other thing, to do something so rigid that if you step out of that box, let's say like you're training for something, right? A lot of people that are training for an event, a physical event, like a triathlon or like Ironmans, man, these people, it's crazy. It's amazing what the body is capable of, but it's also like, are you doing damage too, right? At some point, when is enough for us, I guess? And that's different for each person. But the more you put yourself first, the more you can come up with something to do for yourself every day, whether it's 5 minutes of reading, 5 minutes of listening to something you love, sitting in the calm, doing an exercise, eating something that's beneficial to your body, getting outside in the sun, and really committing to that. You'll start feeling better with the people that you have to help or the people that you're around in your daily life. You'll feel lighter. And what are we talking about here? All these things that I've just mentioned are very simple tools and steps that you can take to calm your nervous system. The nervous system is how we feel life in this body. That's how it works. So the more that you are taking care of yourself, you're bringing down your blood pressure, your heart rate, everything's calming down, and the nervous system is completely comfortable. It's not freaking out. Fight or flight is not happening. And it's really important to keep your system in balance. And it's really actually amazing how we can operate in overwhelm. I mean, if you think about it, everybody's operating in complete overwhelm all the time. The body will tolerate a lot, and the body will also repair itself fairly quickly, which is also really pretty amazing. One other thing to point out before we move on is if you're really feeling overwhelmed and you want to implement more self-care, you might need to eliminate certain things that you're doing in your life, right, to make time for that. Or are you somebody who always says yes to everything? You know, like maybe it would be a good idea to learn how to say no to certain things that maybe you don't really need to do. Because sometimes we do things out of feeling obligated to do them, or it's the right thing to do, but I don't really want to do it. Really listen to yourself and say, well, I'm tired of feeling overwhelmed, and I really do need to put my needs first here. So I'm going to have to say no to this particular event or whatever the situation is. So the deeper you take this, the more you get really into your psyche and you start seeing, wow, I really take on way too much. I really don't need to do all of this stuff. I just think I need to do it all, you know? And then you can look at the motivation behind why am I doing all of that, right? Is this satisfying the ego's need for something, or am I genuinely trying to help? You can look at it from many different angles. So now that we talked about some real simple practical things to do to just put yourself first in your life and use whatever avenue you want. I'm not here telling you, oh, you got to do X, Y, and Z. No, this is about you creating your own life, right? You don't need people telling you what to do or how to do it. You can do it yourself. You can get in touch with what you want, how you want to feel, what things you want to do in your life, right? You set the tone for that. But as I touched on going into that still center, this is where we connect spiritually to our spiritual self. Now I want to shift gears and talk about spiritual self-care, what that could mean for you in your life. We're always so distracted with the physical, with the body, and I think it's really easy to associate how we feel with the body. I'm sure as you're listening, you're going, oh yeah, I always associate how I feel with my body's state of being, or your mental state of mind, right? Those two things. But how often are you asking the question, am I feeling my life through my spiritual connection? And then am I answering that question with, how do I feel? I feel connected spiritually and everything is flowing no matter what, and I'm okay. How are you answering the question? Because most of us, it's all about body and mind, body and mind. And they're important, right? That's how we operate in this world. But when you bring in the spiritual side and you start connecting to that, everything starts to change in a very significant way in terms of how you feel. So you can think of the body and mind that you're taking care of those things. Those are your practical self-care things, right? And then we're now bridging into the spiritual side, which is I can access this at any point, and I can shift from thinking my mind, my ego mind, that is all about control, right? It's all about knowing everything. It wants you to create a spiritual to-do list. You got to do all these things and check them off to be spiritual. Well, I'm saying take that sheet of paper and wad it up and throw it in the trash can because it's not true. You can access your spiritual self anytime, anywhere, and for any amount of time that you choose. You absolutely can. And that's the point, right? The point is to let the spiritual side guide everything else that you're doing. You're switching over from the control freak of the mind, and you're saying, I want to really feel connected in my life, and I want to get rid of this overwhelm that I feel on a daily basis. I'm handing over the need to fix everything, right? I'm handing it over to spirit, and I'm saying, I'm asking for your guidance as I move through this overwhelming period. And I'm going to just allow things to unfold as I can instead of trying to do it with anxiety, make it all happen now, and say, you know what? Maybe this project doesn't need to be complete just yet. There are obviously probably deadlines that you do have in your life, but pick the ones that are most important first. What do you have to do now? And then you say, okay, I'm focusing on that, and I am relaxing into this with spirit, and I'm allowing spirit to guide me through the project. That means losing control of every little detail that you think you need to have in that project or whatever you're working on. It could be anything in your life. When you drop the control, right, the control of the ego, and you say, okay, I'm opening up to listen to what comes to me as opposed to trying to make everything happen. Those are very different things, right? Now, this doesn't mean you can't try to make things happen. I'm just suggesting if you're looking for the calm and the peace and the contentment in your life, you're stepping into a state of flow with spirit. It's a very different thing. You're not so concerned about what the outcome looks like because you're connecting and allowing something else to guide you. And when you do that, things start unfolding in a very natural way. And you start realizing that things are coming to you. Now, this doesn't mean that you just sit and do nothing. It means that whatever you're doing in your mind's eye, you're just saying, okay, I'm really in the state of awareness now. Because before, it's like you're in a state of dictatorship. You're going into this open mind. I'm now in this vast field of awareness that's allowing things to happen sort of organically. And even if you have an image of something that you want to create in your life, have the image. The image is there. You see it. And the more attention you bring to that image, the more things will start showing up. We'll start getting little things about why that might happen for you, and it may be, and it typically is, things you weren't thinking about. You'll meet somebody out of nowhere that you didn't see coming. Someone will show up to help you. It's very interesting when you sort of let go of the reins or you stop driving the car, you're not steering the ship anymore and you're allowing spirit to guide you. It's really amazing the synchronicities that will happen in your life. And you'll really start feeling like you're in this state of flow. So letting spirit guide you as you move through anything you're doing. This applies to anything. Work, home life, personal life, friendships, trips, wherever you're going. Anything you're trying to do in your life. You're moving. You're allowing guidance to come in and help you. And everything is the way it is. Everything's as it should be all the time. And the only way you know that is because it's happening. Nothing else is happening. What's happening currently in your life is happening because it's supposed to happen. Even if you're in huge resistance to it, even if you can't stand it, the door opens when you're connected to spirit that says, what is this moment teaching me? What is this moment guiding me toward? Maybe it's preparing me for something else that's to come. I just don't know what that is yet. So when you shift from hating everything you're doing or feeling overwhelmed and feeling like, everything that you are currently experiencing is leading you to the next thing. It always is. It can't be any other way. So why resist it? Why get in the way of it in your mind? And really what's in the way is the mind. So when you're stepping out and watching yourself do these things and you're stepping in to that awareness that's within you, that calm center that's there, that now sees everything clearly, it's a major shift in how you live your life. No one will know. Maybe you feel lighter. They can tell by the way that you're not as overwhelmed or stressed out about things that maybe you were before. But it's something you're doing within you. So like you won't physically probably appear any different. Maybe there's, like I said, some few little behavioral things. But overall, this is something that you're doing really within yourself. So getting in touch with spirit and dropping the control is huge. And anytime you can kind of feel the control come in again, it's the ego stepping in. The ego will always bring on overwhelm because it loves to put on extra distractions. It loves to keep us away from the spiritual side. Remember that when you see your ego coming in, and it will, we all have one while we're here. But when you see it, and you know what it's doing, it doesn't want you to feel the connection to who you truly are, because then it has no power, right? It literally has none. Another thing to think about, let's take this deeper now, is when you're getting connected to the spiritual side, you start doing a little practical self-care. You're making sure you're taking care of yourself so now that you can help other people, right, when they need it. Now, this doesn't mean you have to volunteer and help somewhere. It doesn't mean you have to do that at all. But you can be of service to people that you know, to people that need help, or maybe like a friend really just needs you to listen to what's going on in their life. And maybe instead of trying to come in and save them or offer suggestions to them, you simply create a space of stillness within yourself. So you go to the sacred still center. This doesn't mean you're not talking. You could be speaking, but you're still accessing that awareness within, and you're allowing the person to do what they need to do, to tell you what they need to say, to vent, and you're not trying to fix them. You're just letting it happen. They feel comfortable to share with you. And in that, you are recognizing that you're sharing this sacred space together and you don't need to personalize their problem. Isn't that funny? Like when we're trying to help somebody and somebody needs us for whatever reason, how quickly our minds will want to do the work for them or offer a million solutions or try to get them to see it a different way. But when people are not wanting that or they are not ready for that, there's no reason to do that. Maybe it's simply to just let them say what they believe and feel about whatever's going on in their life. And it doesn't have anything to do with you, right? It doesn't have anything to do with us. But when you feel yourself getting involved with what they're talking about, and you can kind of feel it happening, like, why are they doing that? This is so wrong. They shouldn't be doing that. You're getting personally involved, and you don't have to. And then when you feel yourself do that, you can say, no, I'm going to be of service. I'm going to be of spiritual service, and I'm going to be right here for this person, giving them the space that they need to say whatever they need to say. And I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to tell them what to do unless they ask me for my advice, right? I'm not going to just offer anything unless they really, truly want it, or they're in a space to hear it. And you can tell, right? Sometimes people will never hear what you're going to say to them. So is that the kind thing to do, is start barking things that they should be doing? Probably not. Like the kind thing to do is just connect, give them the space, and you're recognizing your oneness together, that we are actually the same underneath whatever's going on in our lives at this point. You're holding space, letting them be. And this is what it means to be connected spiritually. We recognize that all of us are the same underneath whatever suit we're in while we're here. We're all the same spirit. We come from the same source, and we're going to return to the same source. The more you recognize that in other people that might irritate you, and that's the best time. When you are irritated with someone else is the best time to practice going to the calm center, connecting, realizing that, the ego is coming in and judging. And now you know it. So now you want to shift gears and you want to access your spiritual side. You want to implement your spiritual self-care. And that would be the kindness and the respect you're giving another human being who needs it. Even if you have a different opinion, even if you don't think the same way that they do, even if that person is not ready to hear anything about helping themselves, that's okay. We're all where we need to be. And recognizing that in ourselves and in other people is key, because we're not all going to wake up at the same time. As much as the world will now say we're all ascending to the fifth dimension together. I don't think that's happening. I think it's still an individual realization. It's a self-realization within with a capital S. And that's private and personal to each one of us. And it doesn't matter if the people we are around see that or feel that yet or not. So practicing spiritual self-care means that you're really accepting everybody where they are on their own path. Because the tendency for us spiritual seekers is that we want everybody to be where we are. We want everybody to see where we see from. But that would be the ego talking, wouldn't it? Because the ego thinks it knows what's best for everybody else. So think about that as you're moving through your own life when you feel that need to want to go save someone, and realize that, well, you know what? That's not what they need right now. And I'm going to get into my spiritual self-care mode, and I'm just going to provide a sacred space for them and be there, give them whatever they need. They need a space to be heard. They need a hug. They need a warm meal. Whatever it is, you will know what they need. And then you're trusting that everything is okay as it is. You trust the flow of how life is unfolding for yourself and for the people around you. Because sometimes it's really hard when you see people around you struggling, right? I mean, I was struggling for over 15 years pretty hard. And I can imagine for the people around me how hard it was to watch somebody struggle and feel like they're never going to free themselves or they're never going to get out of it. So if you're in that place of serious overwhelm and you feel like you're never going to get out of it, think about going to that center wherever you are and really start going inward and listening and creating the space to breathe again. and not being so attached to how this is going to unfold. Whatever problem you might be experiencing in your life, it's like, I don't need all the answers. It's only my mind that needs to know every little detail right now. But I'm going to let go. I don't know what's best for me, but Spirit does. So I'm going to allow Spirit to show me. And I'm going to get out of the way. And that's easier said than done because we're so attached to the mind and the ego and the identity, and it loves to get in there and take charge. So just recognize when you start feeling like you want to control every situation. And then just say, oh, there it is again. There I go. Trying to control everything. And sometimes you can't stop it. That's okay. Just the acknowledgement and knowing that you're doing it is really all that you need, because that's the first step, knowing that you're doing something. So just to kind of wind down the show today, I really just wanted to make it simple for you from a practical self-care standpoint. Implement whatever you need to do in your life. Put yourself first. And when you put yourself first or give yourself just a little bit, then you're more of service for other people. What do they say when you get on the airplane? Put your oxygen mask on first and then help the people around you. There's probably a reason for that, because you can't help anybody if you can't breathe. This is no different. If you are a mess, if you're all over the place, if you're angry that you can't get any time for yourself, and then you're projecting it onto people and situations around you, right? That's a recipe for disaster. It just continues to spiral downward. So you just flip the script. I'm going to implement a few small things to put myself first in some capacity today, whatever that is for yourself. Make a list of stuff. Make it different every day. If you're not somebody who likes routine and you want different things, do that. And then think about the spiritual self-care when you're around other people and you're empathizing with them. Are you in your spiritual self, or are you trying to dictate what that person should or shouldn't be doing? Now, I will give an exception, and that would be small children. They don't know what the hell they're doing, so you do have to tell them what to do. But when you're talking about adults in your life, these are people who are free to make their own decisions. Are you in the spiritual side when you're with them? And just watch how quickly the ego pops in there and wants to control everything. And just a reminder, when we're talking about spiritual self-care, we're talking about dropping the need to control everything, handing everything over to Spirit, getting in touch with Spirit by going to that still center, and then really becoming aware as you're of service to people around you. And you're not taking everything personally, because most of the time when you are serving somebody else, it has nothing to do with you. But the more we insert ourselves, then we get emotionally involved, don't we? And then we're overwhelmed too. And then we're taking on their stuff, and now we're both overwhelmed. And now we're in fight or flight, and the whole thing is a mess. So we're just reversing course. And I hope this helps. I hope that you can play it again and listen to it as you need, and as things become very overwhelming in your life. And inevitably they do, right? Life is what it is. Something's always coming up. And then you can say, oh, I know something is going to come up again. So I have more time to practice. So I hope this episode can really help you out in your practical everyday life, feeling more connected to something greater than our small self, feeling that peace and that joy that's really sitting within all of us. And it really is a simple practice. It does not have to be complicated. So I wish you all a very good week. I hope you get plenty of opportunity to practice, and I will see you again on the next episode. That's it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. If it resonated, please share, follow, and drop a review with your takeaways. It really means a lot. Visit my website at livelikeeden.com to subscribe for weekly reminders and blogs, or sign up for a free 30-minute consult to explore one-on-one guidance sessions if you're really struggling in Awakening's darkness. Take my Awakening quiz to get a personal podcast playlist that meets you exactly where you're at. See you next week for another deep dive.